And welcome into Darren, Daunic, and Chase. Hope everybody's having a great start to your day. Darren McFarland, Willie Daunic, and Chase McCabe with you. Yes, Chase is back in the fold. Elijah Campbell at our Wholesale Link Game Studios, powered by RumbleOn.com. We weren't sure that what the odds would say at the sports books that you would indeed make it back. But if you had a ticket saying you would join us today, that is a winning ticket. How was your trip?
Oh, it was good. And as I told Elijah before we came on, the last night there went hard in the paint, but here I am. I'm here. I'm ready to go, and I had a good time. So, lot of cool things, out in Vegas. But I had fun. Had a lot of fun. So it was a quick trip, 48-hour town. That's what they say. So good to be back in the fold with you guys.
That's all you got? I mean, you go to Vegas and that's your story. Hey, I made it back. It's good to be back. Had
No,
fun.
I mean,
that's your Vegas story.
what would you like to know?
Well, I mean, if that's all you have to tell, then I
No,
guess
I
that's all
mean,
you have to tell. I mean, hey, just glad to be back. Had fun in Vegas. Okay, well, we're
I
good, guys.
the iron was unkind when it comes to the gambling part of things.
Okay.
I
Well,
don't
those
think
casinos don't look like that because everybody's kicking their butt.
they do not. They do not. The last time I went out there, I didn't really get to explore, and so I made it a point to do that this time. I went in a lot of the different casinos. First time I was in the Bellagio, and yes, you're right. They they there's a reason they have all those chandeliers
Yes.
at a, a
And no
place like that,
clocks.
and no clocks. Stayed at the Planet Hollywood, which was really nice. They have a cool setup there, and then right basically connected to it is a mall, the Miracle Mile, and so they have a ton of restaurants and shops and places, and have a pretty cool sports book. But for those of you that have heard about the Circa, which is a new hotel on Fremont, um, one of the I mean the I sent you pictures of the sports book. That's
Mm-hmm.
where we went and watched the Predators,
Yeah, I brought it up
and
yesterday.
it was a giant, like, it's a giant screen, and they were telling us for the Super Bowl they filled that up with just the Super Bowl. So it's like it's bigger, it's almost bigger than a movie theater screen. And then they can put any game that's on. So they split it where there's three giant screens that have games on, and then smaller screens with games on. They keep the odds updated on either side of it, and then there's a full wall of odds. That was awesome. So was able to take in the Preds game while watching all the other NHL games that were on, and obviously placing bets, and um, just anything you wanted, you could watch. And then they have a bar. It's the longest bar in Vegas that has probably 70 TVs above it, where you can continue to watch if you step away from the actual book. um it was awesome. I mean, it
Wow.
was one of the coolest
Wow.
things I've ever been to. um and then, of course, you've been to books, that the tables are generally right behind you. So
Mm-hmm.
if you want to go sit at the tables for a little bit, you can still turn around and see the giant TV. And
It's very convenient. It's amazing how they do
oh
that.
yeah, yeah. And again, no clocks, no
No
clocks.
clocks.
You don't
Lots
know
of air
what time it
conditioning.
is.
Makes you feel
Yes.
very comfortable.
Yes, and I had so one of the things they do at this bar is all the bartenders are trained to do tricks. So they're spinning bottles and lighting stuff on fire, and doing fancy pours and all that stuff. But they have a 32-ounce drink, whatever you want, mixed drink, and they make it healthy. So I may or may not have had one of those or two of
Mm-hmm.
those. So
Yeah.
it's feeling pretty good.
So say if you had one, I would be really disappointed.
No, I had more. I definitely had more than one, um, and was feeling pretty
You're
good.
saying it had a little bit of a Bourbon Street feel to it. Like you have to be careful of those hurricanes. Like,
Yeah. Oh.
these things are great and they're fruity and they're fantastic. And then, your second hurricane, you're like, licking the gutters on Bourbon Street, looking for
Yeah.
beads.
Yeah. And
It's not good.
that was my first time on Fremont too. So I had never done Fremont. I had always just, the one time I was there, I'd stayed on the Strip, and that's just kind of where we were. But did Fremont, and that's like Bourbon Street.
Mm-hmm.
That was the comp that was given to me, and it was very, very true. Or Beale Street, and I mean, it's funny. It's like the first thing I said when I walked on Fremont is, and you know, they have it covered now too, which is cool. But I looked at Ricky and I said, this is what Broadway needs to do. Just shut Broadway down, have one cross street, and let people just walk the streets. I mean, it's such a cool setup.
I kind of feel the same way. I've felt that way for a good while.
Yeah, no, I think most people do.
I just, I, I just think they just need to. It's too tight. It's gotten too crazy. It's not built to handle the crowds that they have now. It's just,
Yeah,
and so it's kind of like our city, the infrastructure, like we've outgrown, and so you have to do. I personally, I would just block it all off. I would
yeah,
start at what about fifth,
yeah. Go
and just
fifth
go
down
fifth
to
all the way
second
down to first.
or first. Yeah, I mean, you can go
Or
all the way down.
I mean, I guess you might as well, or take it to second. I don't know.
Yeah, I think you could probably get away with that. Have fourth be like a cross street, so you split it up. That's what Beale Street does. That's what I don't know if Bourbon does that or not, but that's what Fremont did. And have one cross street down the middle, and then take it down to second, and then first. You could keep first open, but um, I would totally do that, and I feel like that's probably coming. I know they've experimented with it with
Honestly,
different
I've
things.
felt it's coming for a good while, and I'm surprised it's still the old system.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. It's a good point. But yeah, it was fun. It was a good trip. Did okay at the sports book, not so much on the blackjack, but that's all right. Um, like you said, they don't have all those chandeliers and everything by
Well,
letting people win.
it's
So
not pretty in there because everybody's kicking their butt.
yeah, no, the house always wins, as they say.
Well, it doesn't always win, but yes, that's the
In the
beauty.
long run, I think it
Right.
always wins.
Yes, and that's the thing. Yes, it doesn't always win with everybody, but it wins with enough people that yes, it always wins.
Yeah. So if you haven't, and you know, I'll say this too. They are very, very strict. Like outside, you can take the mask off, but inside, I mean, they are holding to that,
Yep.
and
I
it's
had a
safe.
buddy who just celebrated the big 5-0 there, and he said it was. He goes, man, it was. He lives in Ohio, and he's like, it was way safer in Vegas. He
Yeah,
was like, all the concerns that our group had, and unfortunately, I didn't get to go. Um, he's like, for all the concerns that everybody had, he's like, heck, when the trip was over, we are like, this place is safer than home.
yeah, yeah. And what it kind of took an adjustment because, and I say this because I've just spent so much time at my house during all of this, and so that was probably the most I've worn a mask consecutively, just because I mean, everywhere you went, you had to have it on. I had it on the plane, obviously, and then walking around in the casinos and the sports book, and I mean, you could pull it down to eat and drink, obviously, but
First flight,
first flight, yeah.
okay.
So, and
How was
that
that?
was easy. That was easy. They're transitioning back. They're they had some service with drinks and pretzels and stuff. So they're bringing that stuff back, and it even announced it as we're transitioning to that. So, of course, now the airplane has given me my "you just made the list" for Friday.
Oh,
So
sure.
that's always easy
Mm-hmm.
whenever you fly. But yeah, it was easy. It was just it felt normal. So glad to see that, and glad Vegas is back. glad, glad to see that as well.
So is downtown Nashville,
Oh yeah, yeah,
as
definitely.
we've seen.
So
What did you think of the statement that the Rangers put out on Twitter yesterday? If it wasn't for the blue check mark, I would have sworn that it was a fake account.
no, I know.
I mean, I went and checked, like, let me check the followers on this, make sure this is not fake because typically you don't see a sports franchise come out with a strongly worded comment like that. I mean, that's about as strong as it gets. And
Yeah.
it was, of course, directed at the NHL head of player safety, George Peros. What did you make of their comments yesterday?
Well, before I give you that, let me just read it real quick in case people don't know. The New York Rangers are extremely disappointed the Capitals forward Tom Wilson was not suspended for his horrifying act of violence last night in Madison Square Garden. Wilson is a repeat offender with a long history of these type of acts, and we find it shocking that the NHL and their Department of Player Safety failed to take the appropriate action and suspend him indefinitely. Wilson's dangerous and reckless actions caused an injury to Artemi Panarin that will prevent him from playing again this season. We view this as a declaration of duty by NHL head of player safety George or yeah, dereliction of duty. Sorry, but NHL head of player safety George Peros and believe he is unfit to continue in his current role. So I read that,
I mean, they kind
and
of pulled an Aaron Rodgers, like they want him fired.
yeah, they want him, out.
Yeah.
Um, I think that I think they're probably going to get fined for it, but I think they have every right to feel that way. Um, Tom Wilson,
Oh, they're not probably going to get fined.
they're
They're
going to get, yeah,
absolutely going to get
they're going to
fined.
get fined. But I applaud them for speaking up too, because sometimes that's just what you have to do when things like that happen. I am shocked he didn't get suspended. Absolutely shocked. Repeat offender, and then just watch the play. I mean, just watch the whole thing. I mean, yeah, I know I've interacted with some people on Twitter where they've been like, well, Panarin jumped on his back, and like, yeah, he already took a sucker punch with its glove on and hit a guy several times, cheap shots. And so yeah, Panarin's going to defend his teammate. He's trying to stop this. And Panarin jumps on his back, then basically gets the pile driver down to the ice, and then Tom Wilson throws a couple more blows on him. It was a I know what type of player Tom Wilson is, and I'm not one of those that think fighting needs to be out of the game, and there is still a place for some of that. But in my opinion, he crossed the line. He crossed several lines, and it's not the first time that he's done that. And unless they do something, it's not going to be the last. I mean,
Well,
the
they have
NHL,
done stuff to Tom Wilson. I mean, that's the thing. We talked about this yesterday at length, and we had somebody call in and say, he should be banned for life. I mean, I'm like, good luck with the PA on that. I mean, that's just not going to happen. I mean, they've done. Look, whatever they've done to Tom Wilson, fines and suspensions, it's not a deterrent. That he's not going to change. This is what he is. So how do you fix this? How do you change it when it's clear that the player is not going to change?
right? Well, and that's
Just like
why,
just like Marchand, he's not going to change.
right? That's
This is
why the
what
suspension.
they are.
Yeah, and I guess I know he has been suspended before, but
Who?
Tom Wilson.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah, and so I don't understand why they didn't do it here. It just it doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense. Now, with that said, I don't see George Peros going anywhere. I don't think the NHL is going to do that.
I doubt they're going to buckle, right?
No.
But
Um,
it may put him on notice. I mean, it's going to have a lot of eyeballs and a lot more attention on him now because of this. And
yeah,
oh, by the way, the New York market, I don't know if people are aware of it, but it's a pretty big market.
yeah, it's large.
It's a big market. I don't know if you've been to New York City, but it's big. Oh, wait a minute. It's the number one market in the country. Yeah. So they have a lot of eyeballs and a lot of voices and a lot of, people that will make sure that, oh, where's the league again? Where are their offices?
New York.
Oh, they're in New York. Oh, isn't that funny?
Mm.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's going to get a lot of attention moving forward. They may not have the knee jerk reaction and remove him, but you can't tell me that his position is not going to be looked at differently. Now, when these incidents come up, it's going to be looked at differently because he's basically now he's on notice. Like everybody is aware because of this incident, because of what the Rangers said, especially in that market, but now around the league and anybody else who's been affected by Tom Wilson over the years, they are going to be scrutinizing every move Peros makes moving forward when it comes
Yeah.
to stuff like this.
Well, and they need to. I mean,
Agreed.
because Gary Bettman is in a very, very difficult position because it would be very easy for him to, which I assume is the commissioner, he has this power. He could overrule it and say, yeah, no, we are going to suspend him. But if he does that, then you basically make George Peros powerless. You basically say, yeah, I'm just going to take your power and pull it over here. So Gary Bettman and the NHL have to deal with the backlash of the fact that they didn't do something, which again, I don't understand why he wasn't suspended. I mean, you go watch the video. There are several cheap shots in there, and then almost a pile driver to Panarin. So it's not going to go away. I think it's just going to continue to grow. And like I said, I don't have a problem with what the Rangers said and them taking a strong stance on it.
We'll come back. Robbie Stanley, Robbie and Rexroad. He also covers the Predators for NHL.com. We'll get his thoughts on it and his thoughts on tonight's game in Columbus and the Predators' rest of the season. We do that next on Darren, Daunic, and Chase, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
It's game in Smashville.
The OC a blast to the score, and the Predators take a 3-0 lead.
The Predators are in Columbus looking to lock up another 2 points and a potential playoff berth. Pre-game coverage begins at 5 on Smashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
We're vibing.
Betting fans want great up-to-the-minute information to wager your next bet? Tune in for Moneyline every Friday night at 6 p.m. on 102.5 The Game. Chase McCabe and Ryan Porth will give you an hour of betting information. Brought to you by Twin Spires. Download their betting app today.
Hey, Smashville, it's Robbie Stanley, and I want to tell you about my friends at Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. They're locally owned and operated, and right now they're running a great tune-up special for one system for only $55. You heard that right? A great tune-up special for only $55. One of the many ways to save at Spring Hill Heating and Cooling, and right now you can get 6 months, no interest financing available on repairs. Spring Hill Heating and Cooling offering premium service without the premium price. Do yourself a favor and check them out at springhillac.com, your proud partner of Smashville Live.
When you get to be my age, you've seen just about everything. But the one thing I plan on never seeing is out-of-pocket expenses that Medicare doesn't pay for. And with Medicare supplement coverage from Farm Bureau health plans, I'll never be out of network, so I can use the doctor I want to choose. So if you're turning 65 and have questions about Medicare supplement plans, dental, vision, or prescription drug coverage, talk to a representative today or visit us at fbhp.com. Farm Bureau Health Plans. Plan on us.
Preds fans, ESPN 102.5 The Game is giving you a chance all season long to win a fun Predators prize pack for every single weekday game day. That's right. On the morning of all Predators game days during the week, Robbie and Rex Road will feature one lucky fan in their pick-to-click segment at 8:45. The first caller to get through will have a chance to select a Predators player to score a goal in that evening's game. If that player scores, you win.
They score!
Pick to Click is brought to you by New Amsterdam Vodka, the official vodka of the NHL.
Hey renters, it's Ty Pennington for Guaranteed Rate. Stop paying your landlord's mortgage every month. Look, mortgage rates are still historically low, so go to rate.com now to get a mortgage on your first home and upgrade your life. Like a legit home office, a new deck for summer, maybe a pool, you name it. Guaranteed Rate can help you go from renting to buying like crazy fast. Start at rate.com today. That's rate.com.
Equal housing lender, subject to credit approval. Company NMLS ID 2611 and MLSconsumeraccess.org.
This is Carl Sholin, St. Andrew Sewanee School Head of School. At SAS, teachers and students learn, live, and play in an atmosphere of trust and high expectations. Learn more about fall admission at sasweb.org.
Later today, the Nashville Sound season opening road trip continues against the Toledo Mudhens. Pre-game coverage begins at 5:20 on ESPN 94.9 and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, Nashville, this is Sean Henry. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Back here on Darren, Daunic, and Chase on this Wednesday morning. Darren McFarland, Chase McCabe with you. Looking at our grid, this is our next guest. Robbie Stanley, fantastic fella. I agree, he is swell. He now joins us, covers the Predators for NHL.com. He's half of Robbie and Rex Road. Mornings, Monday through Friday, leading up to our show, 6A to 10A. Robbie, how the heck are you?
I'm doing fantastic, fellas. How are y'all?
See what you did there?
Yeah.
I see what you did.
That was good.
You
that was
are
really
a
good.
Fantastic fella.
As Philip Forsberg confirmed the other night, also a nice guy. So
yeah,
it's good to know.
Yes, I did hear that. I heard that in the presser. So we were just talking about the Rangers situation and their tweet, and I guess it's the Tom Wilson situation, followed by the Rangers' very strongly worded tweet towards George Barros and their feelings on him. I know you guys touched on it some this morning. What are your thoughts? What do you think eventually is going to happen, or is anything going to happen moving forward?
Yeah, I don't really anticipate anything's going to happen moving forward. I mean, number one, I'm interested to see what this game tonight looks like between New York and Washington. Matt Duchene brought it up with us earlier, saying there's probably going to be a lot of eyeballs on the Rangers and Capitals game tonight. Look, number one, I thought the statement made by the Rangers was awesome. I'm all for teams kind of being bold and not, towing the party line when it comes to, statements that they release. Now they're going to pay for it. They're absolutely going to be fined, and it's probably going to be a pretty heavy fine levied at the New York Rangers. I don't think they really care at this point. I think they are, number one, they're in good shape financially, and number two, I think they feel that strongly about the play that Tom Wilson made. I'll be honest, guys, like, I wasn't really that surprised that he didn't get suspended. I mean, when it came out yesterday that it was a $5,000 fine, that wasn't that surprising to me. Like, the sucker punch, I think, was worse than the body slam. I mean, I know everybody's talking about Panarin being out of the lineup, and that's not good for the Rangers, obviously. But I mean, at that point, Panarin's on his back. He turns around and they just start wrestling each other. Yeah, it was a hard takedown, but that's what happens when you have a 6'4", 240-pound guy taking down a guy that's 175 pounds, soaking wet. I mean, that's just what happens at that point. And Tom Wilson has been a polarizing figure in this game for a long time. He's going to continue to be a polarizing figure the way that he plays. I think we've learned at this point with the NHL, you can suspend him all you want. He's not going to change. I looked at that play the other night. It wasn't great. I also think that Tom Wilson has probably made 10 to 15 plays in his career that I would consider worse, which is the larger issue.
Says a lot.
Yeah. I mean, that's the larger issue here.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you go about stopping that if you're the NHL? A lot of it, I think, has to do with the way the game's played now. You just don't have a lot of enforcers. You don't have a lot of guys that physically can go toe-to-toe with Tom Wilson. So what's going to end up happening is eventually teams are going to say, all right, I've had enough of Tom Wilson, and I'm not going to go after Tom Wilson directly, but I'm going to go after Alex Ovechkin, and I'm going to go after Alex Ovechkin's knees, and I'm going to go after Evgeny Kuznetsov. And I think the way to get to Tom Wilson, if you're another team, start laying the wood on the other members of the Capitals to where the Capitals look around at Tom Wilson and say, hey, can you please stop doing some of this stupid crap so they're stop taking shots at Evgeny Kuznetsov and John Carlson and Alex Ovechkin? Like, to me, that's the way that it's going to have to be handled from a player standpoint, because it's pretty obvious at this point Tom Wilson is not going to change his ways regardless of what sort of punishment gets dealt out by the league.
I agree with you on a lot of eyes being on that game tonight. And if I were the Rangers, this is just me, I would be doing everything. I would look, I would just say this. You would never say this publicly, but I would be taking liberties. I would be crossing the line, because, if you are able to get under his skin for some reason, I mean, look, Washington's going to talk about it. They're going to tell Tom Wilson, do not do anything tonight, because look where you're at in the season. I mean, the last thing you want is a suspension for the rest of the year into the playoffs. Behave. They're going to try to get you, they're going to try to rattle your chain. Don't let them do it. But if I were the Rangers, I would absolutely be trying to do it. I would be trying to get him to cross the line again, because there's no way, if Tom Wilson blows up tonight, and I don't think he will, because he knows what's at stake and what they're going to be trying to do.
Yep.
But if he did, you can imagine the league, there's no way they could sit on their hands. The outrage would be overwhelming. It will be an avalanche of outrage on this, and so they would probably lay the hammer on him. So if I were the Rangers, that's what I would be doing.
Well, I agree. I would do the same thing. And the crazy part about all this is typically when you're having discussions about incidents like this, you're talking about like a goon or a guy that can't play the game.
Fourth line guy.
Tom Wilson has 33 points in 43 games this year. He'd be tied with Roman Josi to be the leading scorer of the Predators. Like, the guy can play. I mean, he could play hockey. So
he's a top six guy.
He's a top six guy. I mean, he's a really, really good hockey player. So that's kind of the unique part of this discussion is it's one of those things where general managers around the league, it's got to be interesting to get their viewpoint on this, because I think some, especially, GMs like in Pittsburgh and teams that see Washington all the time, they probably hate Tom Wilson. But I also think, like, if given the opportunity, every single general manager in this league would want Tom Wilson on their team. It's just an interesting place to be. And he's really, I think, in terms of the unique players in the NHL, like obviously McDavid from a skill set, he's the most unique player in the NHL because he can do anything out there. But in terms of the being able to go out and contribute offensively, but also playing that enforcer role, I think Tom Wilson's kind of in a class by himself right now.
In other words, he's not Cody McLeod, right?
He is not.
Like he's productive. He's bringing that element, but he's also really, really productive. So, yes, I agree with you. So, David Poyle was on yesterday, our weekly chat with him, Tuesdays at 11:15. I asked him about if they've talked about whether it's the agent, whether it's with Pekka, about his future plans. He said they have not. I said, is that going to be one of the first things you have to address in the offseason when this season is over? He said, absolutely. It's become a big discussion piece because if the Predators can take care of business and the Lightning, oh, by the way, I was just reading where Vasilevsky is going to be in net tonight against Dallas. And listen to this. Dallas is the only team this year in the Central that has had to face Vasilevsky every single time.
Really just adding insult to injury on that Stanley Cup final win last year. Screw you, Dallas.
Good point. So if they could take care of business and Tampa could take care of business in regulation, Saturday night might not be as big as we thought because everything could be finished up. And if that's the case, don't you think the Predators absolutely play Pekka one, if not two? I don't think they play him both. I said yesterday on the show, if that were the case, I play him Saturday night in Smashville, because you just don't know. So you give him the best night, and then you give UC Monday night so he's not rested forever before they play next. And so, I'd play him on Monday night, Pekka on Saturday night. What do you think?
I think if they take care of business tonight and they secure a playoff spot, there is a 100% chance Pekka Rinne will be in net on Saturday. I think it is a 100% chance.
Not 99.9, 100%.
100%.
That suggests for sure.
That's almost a guarantee.
That is a guarantee.
I am willing to guarantee he will be in net on Saturday night. I mean, it just makes too much sense from about three different vantage points. I mean, number one, like at some point, UC Saros needs some rest. Like you've got to make sure that he's fresh, or at least fresher as he heads into the playoffs. You don't want to give Pekka both games. I would agree. I would go Saturday night for Pekka and Monday for UC Saros. So that way you can get him some rest while also making sure that he's not off for too long heading into the playoffs. But I mean, doesn't the story just kind of write itself in this instance too? Talking about Pekka on Saturday night in Smashville. I mean, I think it would be amazing to see.
Yes.
And look, I don't know what's going to happen with Pekka. None of us do. He very well could come back next year and want to play and want to continue to be a part of this thing. But I do think there's a decent chance that this year is going to be it, and that this is going to be it for Pekka Rinne. And this could be the last time we see it. I mean, Darren, I brought this up with you a couple of weeks ago on our show about the Florida game. Like I was looking at that Florida back-to-back and saying, like, this could be the logical place where Rinne plays his last game. So obviously that didn't happen. We'll see what happens and if the Predators can take care of business tonight. But if they get it done and they clinch a playoff spot by the time this game rolls around on Saturday, I am 100% confident he'll be in net Saturday.
I said yesterday, look, you're right. None of us know. I just laid out my reasons on where I think he is. I said, I think it's truly 50-50 on him this offseason, just waking up and saying, that's it, or, I'm coming back. Willie thinks it's 70-30 he comes back. I say 50-50. If you were just assessing odds you're feeling right now, what would your odds be?
I'm above 50% that he retires. I really am.
So you're above 50% he retires.
Yes.
Okay.
I think if I had to pick one, I would lean towards retirement. Now, I don't have any inside information. That's just my guess at the moment. He's in a new stage of life. He's just had a child. Obviously, his role is not going to be the same as we move forward here. Do I think he can still play? Yeah. Do I think he can still play at a level where you feel good about Pekka being your backup goaltender in a season? I do. Do I think he wants to do that? I don't know. I mean, I think the comments made yesterday by Poyle on your show were very interesting. I mean, it makes sense. You look at Pekka Rinne, one of the things that stood out to him about him his entire career is how competitive that he's been. And look, there are a lot of different factors to this. My guess would be right now, Pekka probably doesn't know what he's going to do at this point. I think that's a decision he'll probably arrive at some point this offseason. What do the Predators do from here? Can they make a run in the playoffs? Do you feel demonstrably better about the direction of the team heading into next season? I mean, I think all of these things factor into the decision if you're Pekka Rinne, but if I had to guess right now, I would say slightly above 50%. I would lean towards he's retired after this.
We're talking to Robbie Stanley. He is one half of Robbie and Rex Road mornings here on ESPN 1025 The Game, and also covers the NHL for NHL.com. So we know what is on the line tonight. If the Predators win in any fashion and Tampa defeats Dallas, they clinch a playoff spot, which there were times this year, Robbie, that we were talking about rebuilds and blowing this thing up, and you had Preds fans calling for the heads of David Poyle and John Hines, and now here we are. Does John Hines get enough credit for what he's been able to do this well, really over the course of since he got the job, dealing with the pause, dealing with the return to play, dealing with COVID protocols, and oh, by the way, still dealing with injuries. You get one guy back into the lineup and another one comes out. Colton Sissons didn't play the other night. Does he truly get enough credit for what's going on here?
I don't think so. I mean, I think it's interesting, and you brought up, Chase, just the conversation around this team. I mean, late February, early March, it was rock bottom for the Predators. Everybody was talking about moving on from John Hines and moving on from David Poile, and I think he deserves a lot of credit, John Hines, for turning this team around and what we've seen with this group. I think if you're watching the Predators play, and we all know how good UC Saros has been and how much credit he deserves, but I think if you're watching this team play and the style with which they've played as of late, and you think to yourself, well, this is just all goaltending. I don't know what you're watching. Like, goaltending is a big part of it. And goaltending is always, I think, the biggest part of what the results look like in hockey. But the style of play has been pretty noticeably different. I mean, there's been a buy-in from the entire group. The forecheck has been outstanding. I think each player to a man has bought into the system that John Hines wants them to play and the way that they had to play in order to be successful. Matt Duchene talked about it this morning. Like, they've simplified the game a little bit. When all these injuries happen, you have some young guys coming in. They simplified the way they were playing, and they found out pretty quickly that it worked and that you were playing with more speed. And actually what has happened is the better you've been defending and the more relentless you've been at working to get the puck back, the better you've been offensively as a group. So I think John Hines deserves a lot of credit for what we've seen here. This turnaround has been fantastic by the Predators. And now, I mean, you've got a chance tonight for it really to culminate and come together if you're the Predators, if things fall your way, which, Chase, is just incredible to think about when you consider where this team was at the end of February, early part of March.
Yeah, no, it's crazy almost to think about it that way. Clearly, you know, the Predators, they got the win the other night. They wanted a regulation win, especially pulling out to a 3-0 lead. But how important in your mind was it that those goals came from Philip Forsberg, who had missed so much time due to injury? Ryan Johansson, who I feel like we're always having the conversation of he's making plays, but there's got to be more. And then, of course, the captain, Roman Josi, saying, you know, hey, y'all watch this. Here we go. How important was that from a just strictly a confidence standpoint as they move in to playoff season?
Well, I think it's important. I think it's good to see Forsberg come back in and be able to contribute as quickly as he is. I mean, he said after the game the other night, the legs are still a little heavy, and you saw it in that breakaway in overtime. He got chased down from behind by Emil Bemstrom, and I still think there's some work to do from a conditioning standpoint. But, I mean, you know where Philip Forsberg's going to be. He found a way to get around the net, finds the loose puck. He's productive. I mean, even in the Dallas game on Saturday night, he didn't score. He didn't end up on the score sheet, but they're just plays made out there by Philip Forsberg that nobody else on this roster can make. And I think you realize just what of a difference he can be and how much of a difference he can make coming back in. Josi, to me, and it's pretty funny because the comments that I heard for a long time from some people on Twitter and social media about Roman Josi and his leadership style and whether or not he needed to be the captain for this team, you don't hear a whole lot of that right now. I mean, this team has turned things around. I think he does exactly what you want your leader to do.
Or John Hines being the wrong coach. I mean, David Poile needs to get it. I mean, all the stuff that's been said. It's been pretty quiet on all those fronts.
It has been quiet on those fronts as of late. And I think Josi, I mean, you look in overtime and Saturday night against Dallas. He makes the play. He cuts to the middle, draws the penalty. You get a power play in overtime. He goes and just wins the game for you on Monday night against Columbus. He carries this team at times. And as much credit as Saros deserves, and he deserves a lot, Roman Josi's right there in my mind. I mean, I think Roman Josi over the last 20 games has been every bit as good as the Roman Josi that won the Norris Trophy last year was. I think he has been. I think he's been every bit as good. So he's been incredible as of late. Your point about Johansson remains. Like, I think both things can be true, and I have a similar viewpoint with Duchene as well.
Yeah.
I think you can have the conversation and say, yes, the production is not where you need it to be, and it's not. Like, those two guys, they've got to be more productive, while also recognizing that the way that they're both playing right now is helping you win, and they're helping you win games. So, look, the conversation with Johansson and Duchene, it's going to go well beyond this year, and there are some decisions the Predators are going to have to make coming up with the expansion draft in Seattle. But I think both guys are playing really well right now. And I mean, the goal Johansson scored the other night, right in the middle of the ice. Who's moving Ryan Johansson in that spot? Like, nobody's moving. That's why you'd like to see him get there more often than he does. I think all three of those guys played well, and that's a good sign moving forward.
We talked about Pekka and what's going to happen there in his future. We've talked about Mikhail Granlund, and David Poyle has brought it up that, maybe there could be some conversations on extending him and him being here. You have to deal with the expansion draft. With the way Eric Haula has played, do you think he's making a case that he might stick around, that this might be more than just a one and done thing with him?
I think he's certainly making the case. I don't know from a financial standpoint whether or not that's going to be able to work. I don't know what his value is going to be in the open market. And it may just simply be a situation where if you're David Poyle and John Hines, like you look down the pipeline and Rem Pitlick's there, Philip Tomasino's there, Matthew Olivier's there. Like you've got players that you feel like are ready to come up now and contribute. And it may just be one of those things where you've got to let Eric Haula go at that point based on the upward mobility of some of your younger guys. But I think he, as much as anybody, has completely turned his game around. I say as much as anybody, obviously is not as much as UC Saros, but Eric Haula, halfway through this season was almost a waste of space out there. Like he wasn't doing anything. He wasn't winning faceoffs. You couldn't really find out where to put him on the third line. He was a healthy scratch at times in these games. And he is now turned into, a really important player. You get the game winner in overtime on Saturday. A great setup for Roman Josi to win the game the other night in overtime as well. I think he's played really well. I think that line with him, Cousins, and Duchesne has been outstanding. They've been, I think, consistent on a game-by-game basis and generating some offense. I think Eric Hall is just a very confident player right now. So, look, there's a lot of things financially to figure out this offseason. Philip Forsberg and his contract extension, Matthias Ekholm and a contract extension. What are you going to do with Mikhail Granlund? I think all three of those things are going to be heavy points of discussion. If you can find a way to get Eric Haula back in here, I think you've got to consider it if you're the Predators. But as I said, it may just end up being one of those things where you've got too many young guys waiting in the wings that you can't afford that luxury.
Lots of one-year deals. One-year deals. 2 years tops.
Right. And, I think that's where you are with the cap right now with things like that. They are skating today. So we'll hear from John Hines in a little bit on maybe what his lineup looks like. But do you think there's a chance we see Sissons, who's day-to-day, Arvidsson, some of these banged up guys? I feel like that's the theme of the year, asking like, is so-and-so returning to the lineup? But they've made it work. What do you think the lineup looks like tonight?
Yeah, I think there's a chance. The good news is if you're a Predators fan, they've been given those day-to-day designations and not week-to-week. We've seen a whole lot of week-to-weeks this year for the Predators in their lineup. So day-to-day, I think makes you feel good. We'll see what happens at the skate. If Arvidsson's back in there or is available, I would assume he'll be back in. Now, I think why this game is so important tonight, number one, obviously, to see if you can try to clinch a playoff berth. But if you can, and you get to Saturday and you've got everything wrapped up, we've talked about the injuries that have kept people out of the lineup this year. I would imagine at this point of the season, based on the schedule and what it's looked like, there are probably a whole lot of guys right now playing through some things. And if you could get those guys rested up a little bit and healed up and maybe give Philip Tomasino a game, maybe give, Rem Pitlick another opportunity, maybe in the top 6 to take a look at, I think that would be very beneficial for this team heading in the playoffs. So I think this game is important on a lot of different fronts. The most obvious one being to clinch the playoff berth. And if you can do that, I think this weekend could be an opportunity where if you do have some guys that are battling through some things right now, you can get them rested up and healed up before the playoffs come.
More quick hitting odds on the way out. Okay. Just give me the odds for these two scenarios since you did it on Pekka returning next year. Odds Aaron Rodgers is the starting quarterback for the Packers at game 1.
Oh, God.
You had to do that, didn't you?
That hurts. I would say at this point, I'm going 28%.
28% that he is under center week 1 for the Packers.
It's not looking good, my friend.
I don't think it looks good.
Odds Rashad Weaver suits up or is still on the roster week 1 for the Titans.
Still on the roster? I'll go 65, 70%. I think he'll be on the roster.
65, 70% on the roster. Okay. All right. Good stuff.
Thanks for killing my soul with Aaron Rodgers. Appreciate it.
Well, it's.
Hey, we got to ask.
That's true.
Or Darren has to ask.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I don't know how it's going to play out. It sounds pretty serious.
It does sound pretty serious. It's not looking good. That's for sure.
That's just my gut feeling. It just doesn't sound serious. It sounds very serious, actually.
Yeah, there was a report today that apparently Aaron Rodgers in a group text message with some teammates referred to Brian Gutekunst, the GM of the Packers, as Jerry Krause, and we all know how that went.
Yeah,
so that's probably not a good sign.
Yikes. Yeah. Pretty serious.
Yeah.
Robbie, good stuff. Really appreciate it. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, boys. Appreciate it.
NHL.com is where you can find his work on Predator game days. Also, one half of Robbie and Rex Road, Monday through Friday, 6A to 10A, leading up to our show. We'll come back and get into some things that we just discussed to wrap up the first hour of Darren, Daunic, and Chase. That's next.
The MTSU Blue Raiders live here. And when you're in the borough, tune us in on 97.5.
In the end zone, caught, touchdown!
We are Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 News Code Red meteorologist Dan Guthrie. Clearing the skies out for us the rest of the day. What was a cloudy start is going to be a sunny finish, but it will overall be cooler. Highs only in the upper 60s.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Zach Allen here with Buddy Allen Carpet One. And over the last 5 years, you've helped us raise nearly $100,000 for the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Tunnel to Towers builds smart homes for injured war heroes, pays off the mortgages of Gold Star families, and the families of first responders killed in the line of duty. This year, they need our help more than ever. Please visit BuddyAllenCarpet1.com to learn more about the great work that Tunnel to Towers does, and click the link to donate today. From the entire Buddy Allen family, we thank you for your support.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back, and you can hear every game this season on ESPN 94.9. It's been over 500 days without professional baseball in Nashville, and First Horizon Park is ready to reopen its doors on Tuesday, May 11th for opening day when the Sounds host Memphis, the AAA affiliate of the St. Louis Cardinals. Celebrate the return of Sounds Baseball with a special post-game fireworks show on opening night, Tuesday, May 11th, and don't forget to visit Third and Home, Nashville's newest sports bar. For tickets, visit NashvilleSounds.com.
Being a mom is one of the toughest jobs around during a normal year, and this past year was anything but normal. So this Mother's Day, Genesis Diamonds invite you to join us in celebrating and appreciating the mothers in our lives. Stop in and let one of our trusted advisors help you find a special, meaningful gift. Layering necklaces, stackable rings, eternity bands, pearls, elegant diamond pendants, and of course, stunning diamond earrings. Great Mother's Day ideas for any budget. There's no doubt we love Mom, but sometimes a little extra appreciation goes a long way as a thank you for helping us through challenges, making more sacrifices, and always putting the family first. So whether it's her first Mother's Day or her 60th, Mom deserves a gift that's anything but ordinary. And at Genesis, that's our specialty. Timeless gifts of jewelry that she can enjoy and cherish for decades to come, and always be reminded of how special she is to the family, especially after a year like we've just had. Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
The greater Nashville area continues to face challenges from the multiple disasters that have forced many nonprofits, schools, and faith-based organizations to slow down or put their work on hold at a time when we need them the most. So let's come together at 6 p.m. on May 5th through 6 p.m. on May 6th and help lift them back up through the Big Paybacks 24-hour online giving event. Learn more at thebigpayback.org.
Jared Stillman.
I mean, I'm serious. Who's going to be the quarterback of the Patriots? You cannot tell me it's going to be Cam.
And company.
Do I think that he had a really, really tough job following the GOAT? Yes, 100% I think he did.
Tune in Stillman and Company for your drive home. Weekday afternoons from 2 to 6 on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Interact with Darren, Daunic, and Chase. Call or text the show at 615-737-1025. Driven by Wilson County Hyundai.com.
Back here on Darren, Daunic, and Chase on this Wednesday morning. Darren McFarland, Chase McCabe with you. Willie will join us a little bit later in the program. How convenient. Peter Laviolette saying Alex Ovechkin is out of the lineup tonight. In their game versus the Rangers, per our discussion.
Do you blame him though?
No, because I mean I wouldn't trust how this is going to play out tonight. And if you lose him for the playoffs, you're toast.
Yeah.
Right. So look, I'm not saying he may have they're saying lower body. He may have a lower body injury, but you know how I am, Jason. Is that a coincidence? I don't know.
I'm gonna be honest with you, and you take this how you want to take this,
or you just send it back if you don't like
it. If they're keeping him out for the reasons we think they're keeping him out, I don't know if I would have put that down as a lower body injury, and I'll leave it at that. I don't think that makes him look good, but that's just me.
What do you mean by that? I'm not following you.
I think I see what you did there, Chase.
Yeah. You're.
Oh, wow.
I was like, come on.
I'm sorry.
Don't make me explain that even.
I was going way too deep into that. Sorry, I was in the weeds. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I see what you did.
Yeah, but I mean, and I'm not trying to be fun. I'm not trying to be funny. I mean,
but is that? I mean, Ovechkin is not that.
No, and that's what I mean. Like, I think designating it that way, that's not.
I know. Look, he's been banged up. I get it, but I also think there may be a little bit of let's heal up a little bit tonight.
Well, as Ryan just said, he was out Monday, so
I understand. That's what I just said. I said he has been out. I understand he's been banged up, and he's been so he's obviously dealing with something. But I'm just saying, may have been pretty easy decision. Like, hey, let's just take tonight off. Let's
Ovi's like, hey,
more days.
Hey, I'm close. One more night.
Let's go a couple more. Yeah, let's take another game off.
Yeah,
I can go. Yeah, let's wait till the next game.
Let's wait.
Just saying. 615-737-1025. That is our phone line. Driven by WilsonCountyHonda.com. Logan is on there. He wants to comment about Tom Wilson. What's up?
Hey, y'all hear me?
Yep.
We got you.
If you go back and watch the video, what all started all that last night, I felt bad for Panarin. He done what I think any other player in the NHL would have done for a teammate. If you watch when I think it was when Buchnevich, correct, that was laying on the ice when all this started.
Kuznetsov, yeah. Mm-hmm.
If you watch, he peeks while he's laying on the ice. Tom Wilson is standing over him, and he kind of peeks up at him. And Tom looks down at him and takes a cross check to the neck. I don't know if y'all seen that or not, and jams him down into the ice. And that's when I'm pretty sure that's what Panarin seen. I'm sitting there watching this live. I'm like, oh no. And I felt so bad for Panarin. He's way overmatched there. But I just thought, I was thinking back to the Arvidsson situation. I think a couple years ago when they were playing the Blues, when he got cross-checked in the back and how bad that hurt him.
Yep.
And I just seen that, and I could not believe he did not get suspended. I know all the sucker punch and everything, but that right there, I thought was the most dangerous play of the whole situation.
Yeah. Well, it was just an anomaly, right? Tom Wilson doesn't do that type of stuff, so he probably gets a break because he just never is wrapped up in stuff like that, right? Or
hashtag sarcasm.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, this guy doesn't have a folder. He's got a file cabinet. I mean,
yeah,
it's ridiculous. I mean, that's why, I think everybody is really, really outraged. The fact a $5,000 fine to Tom Wilson is like, your workplace going, Logan, don't do that again. If you ever, you better not do that again. You owe us $1. You think about what you did. Give us $1.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, 5,000 to him is give me a break.
Yeah,
that's exactly how I felt. I could not believe he didn't get suspended. I could care less who wins the game. I'm a Preds fan, but I was just like, wow.
Tell you what, they're gonna have a lot more eyeballs on that game tonight because of this.
Oh,
no doubt.
Yeah. I don't blame him for taking Ovechkin out. I don't. And I feel like the Rangers ain't got nothing to lose now. So.
Nope. And you know what? I wouldn't blame them for whatever happens tonight. I wouldn't blame them because I know they deserve to be ticked off. And I'm not suggesting you go be dirty too, but there's a line that you can certainly trample on tonight and try to see if you can get under Tom Wilson's skin or make the Capitals pay a little bit.
I'll definitely be keeping my eyes on that game between the Preds and Blue Jackets. Just to see maybe a line brawl. That'd be That's casting night off.
Yeah.
Thanks for the call.
No problem. Thank y'all.
Well, and I mean, I think back in the day, and I witnessed
Sure.
a few of these at the Preds. I mean, you knew going into a game like this what was going to happen. The coach, Lavi, would start Tom Wilson. You'd have somebody from the Rangers. They'd drop the puck. Gloves would go flying. You take care of it, and then it was done. Those rules are different now, so you don't see it like that anymore. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I believe that would be an instigator and a misconduct if they were to do that. But you know what it's going to be tonight. Peter Laviolette's have been around long enough to know what it's going to be tonight, and I'm with you. Whatever the Rangers do, that they have every right to do it. The unfortunate part is, depending on what it is and what takes place, I mean, it's just going to add to, it's always the one that retaliates that seems to get it, and so I'll be very curious.
But what do the Rangers have to lose?
No, nothing. They got nothing. I mean, if whoever the designated guy, the hit man, however you want to put it is, if it's a suspension, which it'll be, like, the NHL is in a tough spot too, because if there's a big hit tonight that could be classified as dirty and payback, and they suspend a guy, then you're going to have everybody going after the NHL. Go, really? You're gonna suspend the guy for doing what you didn't do and taking care of business, but you're not going to suspend Tom Wilson. Okay, sure, that makes a lot of sense.
Just don't pull a Mike. Look, I don't know what's going to happen tonight. Just don't pull a Mike Milbury, okay? Don't end up in the stands at MSG, okay?
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Yeah,
like, we don't need to see that. We don't do that. Like, hockey doesn't need to see that. Whatever happens tonight, just don't end up in the stands.
Yeah, don't want that.
Didn't he go after some Rangers fans
with a penny loafer?
Right. I thought it was with a shoe, right? It was with a shoe.
With a shoe.
Yeah. Just don't do that. Just don't do that.
We don't need a Ron Artest situation.
No, we do not. Let's go to Ricky. Ricky's up next on our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. What's up?
Hey, guys. Long time no talk. I just wanted to make a point on how the NHL completely screwed this up. There is a penalty in the NHL rulebook called a gross misconduct, which can be awarded to a player. If a gross misconduct is awarded to a player, it's an automatic one-game suspension or an immediate hearing with the NHL. The penalty can also be given out after the game with a review of the video. One of the categories that it is giving out for is hair pulling, which Wilson obviously did. The second penalty that could be adjusted is an attempt to injure penalty, which results in a major and also a video review from the NHL. So they didn't only screw this up on the live referee level, they messed this up in Montreal on the officiating level as a whole. The second thing I'm going to say is that I'm a 30-year Ranger season ticket holder. You know that. I moved down to Nashville a couple of years ago. The Rangers are the softest organization in the NHL. There is no one that is going to answer to Tom Wilson. They have a minor league enforcer. The rumor is they're going to bring the kid up. He'll get whites up and down the ice by Wilson. Wilson is a schoolyard bully that has nobody in the league to stand up to him. And there is one guy, his name is Ryan Reeves. They don't play this year in the same division. And Wilson is playing in the softest division other than Boston. And if you notice, he hasn't pulled anything with the Boston Bruins. The NHL is inviting teams to bring back enforcers. And this is what's going to happen because players like Panarin cannot be lost, who has a concussion history. And not only once, but twice, his head was slammed into the ice. And nothing is getting done about it.
Yep. Thanks for the phone call.
Yeah, it's a good call.
It's just look, player safety. I thought the superstars were supposed to get even more benefit of the doubt, right? He's a superstar in the league. Now he's making tons of money. It was a huge deal to get him to New York, and this is how you react to that. With, by the way, your league office is in the backyard. $5,000 fine. It just doesn't make any sense. Let's go to Brian. He's up next on our phone line, driven by Wilson County Hyundai.com. What's up?
Hey, what's going on? So, like, the whole situation, the scrum, whatever anyone wants to call it, there's an overhead video out there that shows what started it. Busnevich is kicking at Vitek Vanacek, which is where the punch comes from. Sorry. I'm sure there's a lot of Rangers fans out there, all the cockroaches and whatnot, but that's what started it. And about Panarin, don't be the third man in.
Yeah, come on. You can't blame him for that. That's what anybody would do. Anybody would do that.
And I was going to say this. I applaud him.
Yeah.
Because quite frankly, he's, I think in the past had a reputation of not being that kind of guy.
No question.
And for him to jump in, and I know there have been some people that have taken that of like, he should have stayed out of it. You know, he shouldn't have jumped on his back. For anybody that has been in any type of situation, whether it's team sports or just, you know, with your friends, a group in something like that happens. I mean, there comes a point where you got to make a decision. Do I step in and try and solve this, break it up, whatever? I have no issue with Panarin and what Panarin did. Panarin was being a good teammate. That bottom line.
I would
look at him, paid the price.
I would look at him worse if he didn't do anything, personally. I would rather him do something than not do something. That's just me.
Completely agree with that. So I get it. I know people are going to go that way. I disagree. You know, I'm fine with him jumping in because, like I said, he was being a good teammate, and that should not go unnoticed.
So would you want the Predators, if that happened to them and Tom, especially it's Tom Wilson, you just want them to all stand around?
Yeah,
and don't do anything? Come on.
No.
Come on.
And if you know
and
this
you think
team,
this, I was going to say, do you think this roster would do that? No.
I think Philip Forsberg, you know, Victor Arvidsson.
Oh, well, you don't need to name names. There's a whole host of players on this team.
I mean, Yossi would have already cleaned house probably, but I mean, you know, I just that's sports. That's being a good teammate. You jump in and try and solve the situation. And
anybody remember what Trenton did against the Bruins and Chara? Anybody remember that?
Yeah.
Anybody watch Tanner Jeannot?
Mm-hmm.
Czech players. Anybody seen that? I mean, come on. You seen Cousins? I mean, you think Cousins? What do you think he would do? I mean, come on. There's a whole host of guys on this roster that would be. I mean, I wouldn't want them standing around not doing anything. Come on. I don't fault him for that. And like you said, I do think he's had kind of that soft Russian mentality. Like, you know, he wouldn't do that, and he did. So I don't fault him for that.
Did you guys yesterday, when you were talking about this, get into the fact that George Peros, who is the head of player safety, what he used to be? Has that come up? Okay.
Of course.
Because I mean that is you do wonder, is that a bit of a conflict of interest? That, you know, he's a longtime enforcer. It's what he was known as, and then, you know, kind of goes, quite frankly, soft on the punishment with Tom Wilson in this situation.
Yep. We will come back, start the second hour. Going to be interesting. Somebody who coached Titans' second-round pick in college at North Dakota State. Now he's an offensive line coach at Vanderbilt. Coach A.J. Blazik will join us on the other side to begin hour number 2 of Darren, Daunic, and Chase, ESPN 102.5, The Game.
And the rebound shoveled in from the Kyle Gronlett on the power play. The Nashville Predators and Columbus Blue Jackets wrap up their season series from Nationwide Arena. Pre-game at 5, face-off at 6. On Smashville's best sports talk,
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Hey, Sounds fans, it's Jeff M. here with your Nashville Sounds update on ESPN Nashville. Last night was the first Sounds game in 609 days, opening night in Toledo. The Sounds suffered an 8-6 loss. They belted 4 home runs to supply the offense, including an early one in the third from Dustin Peterson. 2-on-2 out, the 1-1 to Dustin Peterson. Swung on, crack to right, deep. Stewart back, looking up, that ball is gone! Dustin Peterson has given the Sounds their first runs of 2021, and he's done it with an opposite field line drive, 3-run jack. Derek Fisher, Mario Feliciano, and Jamie Westbrook also went deep, but Toledo scored 5 runs in the bottom of the 6th inning and rallied to beat the Sounds 8-6. Game 2 from Northern Ohio tonight at 5:35 with the pregame at 5:20 on ESPN 94.9. This is Jeff M. with your Nashville Sounds update.
One day a duck went into a pharmacy and asked for a tube of chapstick. Pharmacist said, "That's $1.25, to which the duck replied, "Why don't you just put it on my bill?" The duck then waddled across the street to Red Spirits and Wine, where he discovered a dazzling array of distilled spirits and liqueurs, with a special collection of allocated spirits and Red selected single-barrel whiskeys. He was bowled over by Red's state-of-the-art growler station, featuring 16 taps of local and craft beer favorites and 4 taps devoted to wine. Speaking of which, the wines selected from around the world was simply stunning. And all of this at a price that tickled his feathers. That evening, the duck enjoyed a delicious glass of burgundy and single malt scotch before retiring with an all-encompassing sense of well-being. Red Spirits is located at the corner of Highway 70 South and Old Hickory Boulevard.
Celebrate the amazing mom in your life with amazing deals from Electronic Express. Starting with the latest in home entertainment from brands like Samsung, LG, TCL, Sony, and more. Upgrade the home with up to 40% off all your appliance needs. Plus get up to 36 months free financing. Shop in-store or online at electronicexpress.com. Helping you make this the best Mother's Day ever. Electronic Express. We make it happen.
Hal Gill runs on Dunkin', America's favorite coffee. I grew up in Boston on Dunkin' and so happy that Nashville has my favorite Dunkin' locations all over town. Energize your day with Dunkin's extensive line of specialty coffees and espresso-based beverages. Enjoy Dunkin's iced, flavor-blasted coffee, lattes, cappuccinos, Americanos, and more. Dunkin' has the most delicious donuts, muffins, bagels, and all-day breakfast sandwiches in the business. Hope to see you at the new next-gen Dunkin' in my neck of the woods on Harding Pike in Belmead.
Nashville's best sports talk, locally owned, home of our Nashville Predators. WPRT FM Grove, 97.5 Murfreesboro, WBUZ HD2 Laverne, online at thegaynashville.com. We are
ESPN
102.5 The Game.